morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded for Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. So all the information I share with you comes directly real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you need to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. Very straightforward from there. For those that watch the channel all the time, you know that we gather questions from our community board. We put out a request on Mondays each week. Cutoff time is about midday on Friday, where then my wife Linda goes through the questions. I think we had 300 to 400 questions this week, and then tries to narrow them down to a group of 50, 60, or 70 questions that I go with you through here real time on these shows. So thanks for everybody's wonderful support. Really appreciate it a great deal. Also, it's worth mentioning that we're still running a contest on the show. Every time we reach a new level of 1,000 subscribers, we give away a free half-hour session with myself. Right now, we're within 100 subscribers of reaching 37,000. So I anticipate we'll probably cross over on this show. And the way we select a winner is by going, we actually have a computer app that goes through all the comments in the show where we cross over. And if you start off the comment with the word love, we know you want to be involved in the contest. And then the winner is randomly selected by the app, and then we announce it on the next week's show. So good luck to everybody, and thanks for all the support, and really appreciate, kind of all the kind words that we receive every week. So going on from there, this was a busy week. This was the week on March 30th, where the first time in history, a former president or president was indicted. And so we saw that happening on March 30th. We've talked about this for years on this show, that these indictments were coming. And as much as a week ago on last week's show, I talked about how they were coming, and they're still going to be more like a week or so out. We're seeing now that next week, this coming week here, the indictment will actually be revealed, unsealed, and I think there's something like 30 charges. So that's all coming up. And my team of guides and angels try to keep everybody informed as real time as possible what's happening. They also want me to mention that we're going to see a lot of chaos coming here. So, there's about 1/3 of the GOP are compromised. And what I mean by that is that they actually beholden to some offshore money and other deals that have been made. And so you're not really playing with a fair deck, so to speak. So you're going to see the GOP throw everything but the kitchen sink at this first indictment that's coming out of New York with Bragg. So what I want everybody to be assured that it's not going to work. The GOP is going to try all sorts of tricks. It's not going to work. In the long run, you'll see actually a conviction of 45. Now, I also want to know it's going to take a long time. So we're probably going to be a year to 2 years in the whole process. It's going to be a dragged out trial and procedure and lots going on. And notwithstanding, there's at least 3 or 4 other major indictments coming down very shortly here, as you know, from the federal, from Jack Smith, in Georgia. There's also, a number of other cases that are brewing. So my messaging here is be calm, know that it's all going to work out. Truth will prevail, and stay tuned for all the chaos, that we're going to see developed here by the GOP. So anyway, I kind of want to get that messaging out in front. Today, I think we had 52 questions in the countdown, so I'll go through them like we always do every week, and I'll read back the question and give you the answer here real time. So here we go on the top 52 countdown for Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. 52 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. I just donated some money to Lucas Kunce's campaign run for Senate here in Missouri. Would you be able to tell me if he will defeat Josh Hawley in 2024? Looks very promising for Lucas. So looks to me like Lucas will, in fact, in the end, be the winner. 51. Alan Weisselberg has fired Trump's attorneys. Does this mean that Weisselberg is going to flip on Trump? Yes. And I read on this some 2 years ago regarding what was going to happen with Alan, and he would eventually flip on 45 on Trump here. But this is all part of the process you're going to start to see play out here. So yes, absolutely, the shift in attorneys Legal counsel is all set up here for Alan flipping. 50. Hello, Sterling. Will DeSantis and the lawyers he hires be able to overturn the restrictive covenant that allowed the Reedy Creek Improvement District to sign its powers over to Disney, essentially rendering the DeSantis-appointed board toothless? Yes, I think what they exerted what was called the Royal Family Clause. But I've always said that Disney is going to steer their way through it, especially with the appointment of Bob Iger coming back in as CEO of the Walt Disney Company. So this is a very successful move on Disney's part to take the teeth out of the board that DeSantis is putting in place. And it looks like the only thing that the new DeSantis board will be able to do is regulate roadways and highways, but anything related to Disney, major Disney decisions, will have to be approved by Disney. So I do see this as a very successful move, this Royal Family Clause being passed to give Disney back its powers. 49. Hello, Sterling. Is it true that spirits are watching us at all times? Is there ever a time when we are not being watched? Well, all our guides and angels and family members are near us all the time, but they're not really concerned with the mundane activities of life, so don't be concerned about that. But anytime you invoke their name or ask them to come forward, whether it's a family member or your angels and guides, they hear you, they come around, but not concerned with watching you all the time, no. 48. Will the New York indictment result in a trial verdict of guilty to felony for 45? Yes, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but it's going to take some time. So I see a year to 2 years here for the overall process. Quite messy. But yes, it'll eventually result in a conviction for 45. 47. Is El Salvador finally going to prosper in the coming years after going through a civil war and gang violence? Well, I guess it's going to take several years for El Salvador to restabilize, because it looks like the state of emergency, whatever's been called here, is done because of a lot of drug cartel activity or gang violence. So anyway, the answer is yes. It's going to take a number of years here, and I still see a lot of ongoing state of emergency being called in El Salvador. 46. Hi, Sterling. You have always said that we have one exit point. Does that mean that how we cross is pre-planned before we come down? Absolutely. It's always part of your overall life path planning. And that's important because many times family members can take the death of loved ones quite hard and think about what could I have done to get them to the hospital faster or more doctors. And if it's your time to cross, if it's your exit point, you will cross. So absolutely, it's always part of the life path blueprint. 45. Hi, Sterling. Will they ever be able to find and fix whatever is in the brain that causes bipolar disorder or schizophrenia? The medication to help both conditions causes horrendous short and long-term side effects. Will there be a better treatment option in the future or even a cure? Yes, I've actually read on this before, but within 8 years, using CRISPR technology, that's gene editing technology, within 8 years, there'll be some new advanced medication for this medical problem. There will. 44. Thank you, Sterling and team, for all you do on this channel. Do you see any improvements in the in vitro fertilization, IVF process, and success rate in the near future? Big advances in 5 years and then another 5 years. So it looks like, again, not a doctor, but looks like big advances in maybe survivability of the embryo, whatever this is, and then another number of years past that for better introduction techniques. So yeah, there's big advances coming in survivability of the embryo, and then I'm going to call it implantation. So it's coming. So number of years here, it's coming. 43. In the coming years, will colleges and universities use artificial intelligence to process student applications in an effort to form an unbiased selection system and to create a diverse student population at these education institutions? Yes. As a matter of fact, artificial intelligence is already being used for a lot of the screening process, and it will be rolled out to many universities, institutions over the next few years here. So look for that coming. It's going to be worthwhile. It's going to be very helpful. And remember, among other things artificial intelligence does, it actually can uncover relationships in very disparate, very large databases of information, and pick up either challenges or correlations and things that human beings don't always see. That's one of the advantages of artificial intelligence among many. 42. In 2020, I went out in the morning, and for some reason, my attention was drawn to a mid-sized rock in the garden. It looked like it was ripped open, and I could see black and white matrix ones and zeros. I looked away and then did a double take. It was still what I originally saw. I looked away again, and the third time it was just a rock. What was that? I'm getting that was an ET communication device, and there's actually thousands on the planet right now. So you uncovered what was a remnant of an extraterrestrial communication device. 41. Do you see Trudeau winning another term as prime minister in 2025? Well, unfortunately, it looks like that will not happen. It looks like there'll be an opponent that wins out in 2025. So sorry to say, but anyway, that's what they're telling me. So I'm passing that along to you. 40. A big story in Colorado right now. An avalanche happened 3 weeks ago, which killed one person and injured two others. A dog miraculously missed the avalanche, but took off from the area and is now lost. One of the survivors had only a hand sticking out of the snow, and he spent 5 hours digging himself out. It was his dog that took off and is now lost. I'm hoping that you can just see if the dog, it looks like Uller is his name, is still alive. The dog is a 60-pound brown mutt and an orange pack on his back. Yes, it appears the dog is still alive. It appears the dog is now with somebody else. So it looks like somebody else might have rescued the dog and not know the full story. I want to send out a lot of love, light, and prayers to Uller, the dog. It does appear to me, although this was very life-threatening for Uller, looks like he's still hanging on for life. It looks like somebody's got him. Somebody has actually rescued him. So blessings go out to Uller here. 39. When I was young and sleeping at my grandparents' house, I woke up to see a glowing person on the wall. This figure had no features. It as if an outline of a person was filled in with light. It was monitoring me or motioning me to come to it. It scared me. What was this? I get this is one of your guides trying to make a connection with you and get you to come over. So, many times angels and guides will make appearances to us and try to let us know they're there. Obviously, if they scare you too much, they'll stop with the apparitions. But that's what that was. 38. Thank you, Sterling. Thank you, Team Sterling. On March 30th, 2023, about 2:30 a.m., in San Diego County, there was a very loud screech sound and then a loud boom. It sounded like a plane was taking a nosedive in an old war movie. My house shook and the windows rattled. It felt like there was an earthquake happening. I got up and looked outside. Everything looked normal. Someone's car alarm was going off, but no sign of what caused the sound. What was that? This was military weapons testing, either military aircraft or military weapons testing. I'm being told very directly. So this wasn't something that was extraterrestrial or something out of this world. Absolutely very physical, very related to the military. So don't worry about it. 37. Sterling. It was so hard for many of us to watch the Nashville murders and reactions of Republican leaders. Can your guides offer anything encouraging about the impact of this tragedy in the future? Well, this, like the Uvalde shooting, is going to be very effective in pushing forward new regulations around gun laws. And I've seen this. My guides were talking about this as much as a year or 2 years ago, but we're coming up on the threshold here where I do see new red flag laws being passed. That is, those are laws that will allow authorities to take guns away from people that are at high risk of using that weapon. for mass destruction. I also see the age limit, let's say for certain types of weapons, being moved from 18 to 21. I do see restrictions on assault weapons, AR-15s. So a number of things coming here. It also looks like there's going to be an executive order coming very soon here, also from Biden and the Biden administration. So good things happening. This is slow progress, but yes, unfortunately, I have a lot of these mass shootings. I do see these angelic figures, the people that have greeted all the children, and as part of their life path, them moving on the other side to help humanity. So I do see good things coming. 36, how will the USA respond to Russia, China, South Africa bonding together to strip the US dollar as the currency of trade with their gold-backed brick? Right, so this is referred to as BRICS, I think they call it. So like Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, BRICS. But anyway, it looks like other like NATO aligned nations will align around other currency like the US dollar, but looks like the BRICS countries will align around the gold standard. So whoever asked the question, I don't see it being a huge threat, I'll say, to the US dollar as a standard, but it's certainly going to be something that'll be contentious in the world and in terms of monetary standards. 35, sterling, my husband died many years ago. Right after he passed, I had what I can only explain as a photograph gallery of different faces of people of both sexes presenting themselves to me. None of them were recognizable, but they somehow made me feel peaceful. What did I experience? This was a group of your relatives and his relatives greeting him. So a lot of the images you were seeing were individuals is almost trying to give you a very like validation that your husband was being greeted. And these are a lot of relatives coming. So good for you. That's wonderful when you get those kind of confirmations. 34 in the countdown. There are rumors that Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Iran will be joining the BRICS alliance. Do you see this happening? And how will this affect the USA? And I think we just talked about this a little bit. I'm not sure I see Saudi Arabia or Mexico joining BRICS. That looks like it's a ways off if that ever happens. So kind of aligned with the last BRICS question. There's so many currency implications, but does not look like Saudi Arabia. What they're telling me, there's some sort of a fight going on. Does not look like that's going to be an easy addition to BRICS. That is Saudi Arabia and Mexico. 33, will there be a cure for nerve damage that will bring back complete feeling? If so, when will it be affordable? Well, here again, major advance within 10 years using CRISPR technology, that's gene editing technology. But it looks like a lot of the things developed over the next 10 years around CRISPR will also affect nerve regrowth, healing of nerve conditions of all kinds throughout the body. So that's coming. Wish I could tell it was faster, but it looks like it's like a decade away. 32, hello, Sterling. Do you see the Restrict Act passing? I do. And this is the act that will allow, I think, the federal government or Congress to ban certain platforms that are backed by threatening countries like Russia or China, put restrictions in place. So it looks like some version of this is going to pass. And fairly shortly. Yeah, it does. 31 in the countdown. Has Alvin Bragg's jury been compromised? No. And if you mean the grand jury, no, I don't see it being compromised. No. No. I mean, the answer is my team saying completely no on that answer. 30. A recent report shows there is 21% more pollen in the air since 1990 due to climate change. Do you and your team see any safe cures for seasonal allergies anytime soon? No, oddly enough, it looks like a lot of good cleansing solutions are more important. I don't see a medical solution coming up, a big one, but they're just pointing me to a lot of cleansing solutions. They have like these kind of, I don't know, neti pot solutions, whatever this is, the ones that are automated. But so my guides are just saying there's a lot of cleansing solutions coming up, and not a lot of new medications, not for like another 5 years here. So sorry for those that are suffering out there. That's what they're telling me. 29, aloha, Sterling and team. You have said your team accesses the Akashic records. Can you please explain the method used to gain access to them? I have read you need to prepare yourself, say a specific prayer, and stop taking medications in a specific way, and limit yourself to 1 hour accessing them. Well, simply put, I work with a large team of guides and angels, and they access the Akashic records directly. So I use them to shepherd going into the Akashic records. It's an involved process if you try to do it just by yourself or learn how to do it. So it does take some skill and some training, but I leverage off of a large team. So a lot of times when we do these sessions, or I'm doing sessions one-on-one with people, my teams are accessing the Akashic records. So I won't tell you that there's any easy way to do it. It does take training, and you might consult a professional in the Akashic records. There are those out there that hold themselves out in a way to be expert in that area. But I just really utilize my team to access the Akashic records. 28, will there ever be a medication or procedure to completely eradicate herpes 1 and 2 from the body? Yes, within 12 years by the year 2035. And not a doctor here, but I think one is an oral type of a problem and another was a sexually transmitted disease, but they both look like they're going to have good cures within 12 years so within 12 years, what they're telling me. 27, what monetary exchange system do extraterrestrials use? They use rare materials that are found throughout the solar system. So something to think about, rare earth metals, but these are rare materials not found on Earth, as well as access to property rights or zone rights. So there's actually areas of the galaxy that are owned by certain extraterrestrials, and so there's a bit of a trading in that area. So it's more like rare materials and property exchange is what they're telling me. 26, Kentucky has just passed the worst anti-trans bill in the country. Is there any hope for us to turn around this hateful authoritarian current that seems to be overtaking the country? Well, they will, but this is going to take a number of years here. It's more like they're telling me more like another 5 years in order for a lot of this to get turned around, a lot of election cycles to go through. It will eventually get turned around, but it's another 5 years for a lot of this kind of hateful rhetoric around the trans community. And I feel for all those out there that are wrestling with this problem, but it's coming. Remember, we're all here on Earth during this massive 3-decade reset. My team always tells me between 2020 and 2050 is this massive 3-decade reset. We're all in. We actually all agree to be down here at this time to help. So I wish I could tell it was faster, but within a good 5 years here, it's going to start to relax, in that area. 45 had an outburst at the IRS claiming that by going after him, they broke a deal he made with them before his presidency. What was the deal? And will anyone in the IRS face consequences for purposely ignoring 45's fraud? Well, I feel the deal exchange there was 45 agreed to offer up access individuals that were harboring or evading taxes with offshore accounts. So money being moved to offshore accounts, which is kind of interesting. So sort of a deal made there. So it's exchange of, and the IRS look the other way in terms of 45. Don't come after my taxes. I'm going to give you access to things that'll make you look like a hero. So that's what that deal was all about. And you're right. So a lot of that deal did not get executed. And so that's where, that's the noise that 45 is making about all this. 24, hello, Sterling, and all those behind the scenes. Will they find a cure for COPD and when? This is coming up within a 5 to 10 year window. I'm just being told here, 5 to 10 year window, and a lot of therapies are already being looked at right now. Some of our stem cell therapies here. So within a 5, 6, 7 year window, looks like some really good progress. Also, CRISPR is going to help with this, but I'm also being told there's some element of stem cell therapy that'll be helpful. 23, a little known far right conservative activist group led by Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, collected nearly $600,000 in anonymous donations to wage a cultural battle against the left over 3 years. Will Ginny Thomas be further investigated by Jack Smith or the DOJ? Will Clarence Thomas eventually step down to investigations surrounding his wife's actions, but using the excuse of stepping down for health reasons? Well, I've talked about Justice Thomas stepping down for years now, at least for a good 2 years. I do feel like that's one of the two Supreme Court justices that will step down this year in 2023. And it is going to be because of problems due to his connection with his wife and the insurrection, and a lot of things going on there. So they're going to make it clear to him that it'll be time to step down. So yes, I do see him stepping down. I'm not quite sure they blame it on health reasons, but he will be stepping down. 22, can our military weapons harm extraterrestrials and their ships? No, not easily, and not on a very regular basis because of the anti-gravity propulsion system. So those anti-gravity propulsion systems create a shell around these ships, which can reflect advanced weapons. It's very true. 21, although it reminded me, in Roswell, they were talking real time with my team, but they were saying in the Roswell crash that occurred, it was actually an electrical storm that brought down that ship. So I think there was a time, where the anti-gravity propulsion systems are not always active. And so it was a weather storm that brought down that ship. 20, will the people in Florida get fed up with DeSantis and Republicans passing bills that do not benefit them, plus the militia he wants them to fund to control police powers? Yes, but I'm being told it's in the next election cycle. So for DeSantis, I don't recall what the next election cycle is for him, but they're just telling me in the next election cycle, he'll be out. That's when it's going to start to get more normalized in Florida. 19, hi Sterling. I think I read a while back that anyone running for office cannot be investigated or prosecuted within a year of the election. Will this get 45 off the hook for all his lawsuits? No, my team's saying it will have no direct relationship. And I think I also saw a media report that said that you can't be stopped. You can't be stopped from running for president if there are indictments, but certainly if there are prosecutions and you're convicted, that's a different story. So let's see, the way the question was worded here, running for office cannot be investigated or prosecuted. No, so that's not true. You could be investigated or prosecuted very easily, and that will be ongoing with 45 across all the many indictments that are coming. 18, will a Democrat or a Republican be our next president? Democrat Joe Biden will be the next president. 17, love Sterling. Do you see Beto O'Rourke winning and replacing Ted Cruz? Looks like Beto going to run again. Yes, I've read on Beto O'Rourke many times over the last 1 to 2 years, and I always said he was not going to get into office on the last election run. But I always saw him going to Congress and replacing Ted Cruz. So I'm back. My guides and angels have said that's always going to be the case, and that's definitely going to be the case. Absolutely. Okay, 60 in the countdown. Will stem cell therapy ever be accepted and legally permitted in America? Yes, it will. Eventually, over the next number of years here, it'll be used and accepted. But I do see as you go 5 to 10 years out, the advances in CRISPR technology will make it not necessary. So there's a little evolution here for me around stem cell therapy, how it evolves, becomes important, validated, but then no longer necessary. 15, why are there so many great whites gathering off the coast of the Outer Banks of North Carolina right now? Do they have a message for us? Well, no specific message, but they're gathering due to changes in global warming. So it's moving food supplies around. So this is not something having to do with ship traffic or algae or viruses or funguses, but has to do with the changing global warming is moving some of the food supplies around. So that's why it looks like they're aggregating around this place in North Carolina. 14. Another thought has come to me. This person says, in each incarnation, do we return looking the same, or do we change genders, races, and ethnicities? Well, we have complete free will on the other side. It is all based on the lessons you want to come down here and learn. So I do see when I read people and I have sessions, a lot of times when I look at past lives, many times I see, for example, they may have changed from a daughter-mother relationship to mother-daughter, or they may have changed sex, going from male to female to male. I do see different changes in ethnicities. It's all really the kind of the free will lesson you want to learn when you come down here. And remember, when you come down here, you're coming down with other members of your extended spiritual family, which are thousands of members. And so it's like an agreement on the roles that everybody's going to play. So yeah, it's all a lot of people do swap it out, but you're free to come down as a female every time if you want, or a male, all up to you based on the lessons you want to learn. 13, hi Sterling. Does the ethnic information from our DNA indicate the locations of our past lives, or does our DNA change with every life on Earth? Well, our physical DNA relates directly to our physical experience. That's true, and the physical nature and experience. But your spiritual DNA is what contains all the elements of like past lives and ethnicities and the things that you were. So my team always says there's a real difference between the physical DNA and your spiritual DNA. So spiritual DNA really carries a lot of the past life information with it. 12, will Fox News be forced to change their news format, or will Rupert Murdoch sell Fox News? Now, I don't see Rupert selling Fox News, but I do see them highly changing their format after the Dominion suit goes the full course. And in fact, I saw something like a $2 billion payout having to go from Fox over to Dominion. But it does look like they're going to change their format and almost align a little bit more like the way Newsmax, another conservative outlet. So I don't see Rupert selling, but he's going to reformat the channel. And certainly going to be a lot less risky behavior in terms of fabrication of lies and pushing lies forward. 11, hi Sterling, do ETs have the same ascended masters and guides that we have on Earth? No, not necessarily. But what's interesting, we all flow up to the one source, one force. So they have different types of ascended masters. However, everything flows up to the one source, the one force. So that's kind of interesting. That's where, for me, it kind of all connects at a higher level. 10, thank you, Sterling. It will be 27 years on May 6, 1996. A man named Victor, Boucher, disappeared without a trace in New Brunswick, Canada. We heard rumors, but everyone stayed quiet. Will the family ever get closure or find him? They will. This is related to foul play, and this is related to an abduction, and this has something to do with, I'm going to call it work for hire. So maybe some sort of an exchange of work or a project that didn't go well, a disgruntled individual, looks like a male to me, a mid-aged male. That actually could be a little on the younger side. So I'm going to say late 20s, early 30s. It will be solved. And I'm sorry to say to the family, I want to send love and light out to the family, but looks like they will find his remains. So I'm sorry that's taken so long. I think they said 30 or 27 years. But it will be solved, and it was somebody that was known related to like a work for hire. So hopefully that, if any of the authorities are listening, I hope that's helpful. 9, will the future of education be homeschooling or Zoom school? Too many teachers are quitting. What will happen? Yes, going to see a big push towards distance learning and Zoom and all those technologies. Absolutely. That's where it's all headed right now. So we'll have going forward more of a hybridized environment where a lot of schooling will be done by distance learning, teachers beaming into the home. But then there'll be a hybridized element where there'll be some hands-on required. I'll call it more lab-oriented education that's required hands-on. So we're moving to a hybrid environment. We are. 8, happy Sunday, Sterling and team. Can your team solve this question? Almost 3 decades ago in my home in Montana, late one evening, I was nursing my baby when I saw a woman with blonde shoulder-length hair wearing a opalescent long gown, looks like, glided past my bedroom door. She paused in my doorway and wagged her finger at me, the typical no-nonsense gesture. Who was this, and what was she trying to say? I get this is one of your birth angels, but the shaking of the finger was watching your negative thoughts. So something going on here at that time. I'm not sure if you're worried about baby's health or the home environment, but that the birth angel was trying to tell you, we're here for you. Understand that. and know that, and stop with the negative thoughts. That's kind of what the finger shaking was all about. Interesting. 7, I'm interested in knowing, will there be ways to treat damage injury to the spine, such as spinal stenosis, besides injections into joints or surgery in the near future? Well, we talked about this early on the show, but this is also going to come out of gene editing. Look for this in about a decade. There'll be advances before that, but before it gets commercially available for spinal injury and nerves, it's going to be a decade out. Some of this will be still injectable therapy. My guys are telling me injections, will be a whole different type of technology. 6, will I be able to reunite with all my past pets after I cross over, and will they know me? Yes. You unite immediately with your extended spiritual family, which includes your pets in many cases. Now, pets and animals are from the angelic realm, but a lot of times they go back and align themselves with your extended spiritual family crossover. You'll see them all when you cross over. Absolutely. 5, hello, Sterling. Please help us solve our family mystery. One evening several years ago, myself and my family were home. A friend had come over, so we all headed to the lower level TV room. As we came down the stairs, we noticed a thick horizontal floating wave of white light. As I approached it, it began moving away from me and traveled up into the light in the ceiling. We all confirmed witnessing the same thing. What was this? This was a deceased family member, but looks like a mother energy to me. He's either directly a mother or a grandmother, very strong female energy, but this was a family member coming around to visit. Absolutely. And by the way, they usually do that if they feel that it's very important for you to somehow witness them or you're thinking about them. So this was a family member. 4, hello, Sterling and life. Do we ever miss our opportunity, or what is for us always finds us what we're supposed to do? So you never really miss anything. I always tell people you never get off your life path. A lot of people will integrate free will in their life path and slow things down, speed them up. It controls your completeness of achievement, your scale of achievement. But you never really miss the opportunity. So what happens is if you, quote unquote, if you miss the opportunity, it actually comes back around again for you if it's on your life path. That's important to know. I think a lot of people sometimes think about shoulda, coulda, woulda, and here's all the things I missed. Not really the case. If it's meant for you, if it's meant to happen, it will happen. Number 3, I remember many videos ago that you predicted Putin would transition the late spring or early summer this year. Do you still see that? I still see a preponderance of health problems for Putin, and I did still see him exiting this year. I also saw the decline of Putin, along with the same kind of decline as 45 or Trump. So they're both going to be declining in terms of their power, their influence. And I did see major health problems, Putin crossing over within this year. It's still coming through to me like that. And number 2 and number 1, I always scribe some notes before the show starts, so I'll read those back to you. So number 2 in the countdown, do you see anything coming up this week? Many more details coming forward here on the Trump indictments. And I think we're also going to get some word on the timing of the other indictments coming out. I also see a lot of, I'm going to call it a lot of nonsense, a lot of chaos from the GOP. We talked about this earlier here. Going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at this whole New York process. So stay tuned for that. Very hold tight. I'm concerned about some big weather problems coming from the East Coast, even the Gulf area of the U.S. So everybody just be prepared for that. I don't want to call it a disaster, but I'm going to say there's some major weather incidents coming up here. Also, there's some sort of a military aircraft crash or incident, and my guides were saying it's APAC, coming up in APAC. Does not look like a helicopter to me. Looks like a transport aircraft. It could be another type of military aircraft. So everybody be concerned out there in the military. Watch for safety. Something going on here in APAC, and I'm a little concerned about it with a military aircraft accident. So saying love and light out to everybody in that area. And number 1 on the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Just when you believe your prayers will never be answered, look up and you will receive the inspiration you desire. So on that note, that concludes the show being recorded for Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. I want to wish everybody a tremendous amount of goodwill. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. I'm sending out tremendous love and light to you and all your families. Take care. I'll see you soon.